policies. But I think if you would look at the Democratic Party, for example, you would probably see that the more progressive you are, the more likely you are to be an atheist. And
I mean, it's very likely because most regressive legislation tends to be, um, or most regressive standpoints towards
mhm.
certain areas of society tend to be explained by people as being religiously motivated, right? So I would
Yeah,
say it stands to reason that people who are progressive are also less religious, just
sure.
based on that
It's not
point. So
super. I mean, you can definitely be, I don't know, socialist and be religious. Jesus was plenty
sure.
socialist, but yeah, you have things. It's just, I guess, it's a
No,
historical
as a
thing.
Eurofag, you don't take that as a given, right? Because
Mm.
here all things go, right? But in America there are patterns, and the way that again the gay cake, my
Mhm.
religion won't let me, all
Sure.
kinds of things are in America are being justified as being based out or coming stemming from religious
Mhm.
beliefs.
Sure. And I think
So
that's totally
in
okay. I
that,
mean, the gay cake thing is, we can talk about that, but you would probably get triggered there too, because I think it's totally okay for people to refuse business based on their religious belief. I think that, yeah, doing otherwise, forcing them to do something against their religious beliefs as a business would be totally wrong. But
yeah, I'm kind of neither here nor there on that one. I think, yeah, on one hand, how they want to conduct their business should be their business.
sure,
But freedom, your freedom ends where another person's begins.
he can go to another
So
shop. He's free to go to another shop. They wanted to make this particular person bake the cake because they knew he was religious and he didn't want to do it. So it's as simple as that. They just went with that because they needed a case to go to
they
court with.
basically trolled him. Okay,
No,
that's
they needed
also wrong.
they wanted to do they needed the case. They needed him to refuse so that they can go to court. That was, that was intentional. It wasn't,
Mm.
yeah. If you go to any Muslim baker, they would refuse business as well, but they didn't go to Muslim bakers, right? You can find YouTube videos of people doing that, and they just get, they tell them basically fuck off. It's, it's not
Yeah, it's.
uncommon.
mm, I don't know. I think it's okay for a Muslim baker to refuse to make you pork pie, but I don't
What,
think it's okay for them to refuse you
what's the
to sell
difference?
you a product that they normally sell just because of some characteristic that you yourself possess, right? So it's their actions are, let's say, what their actions are should be protected as long as it's not
I
like the
mean,
reason for that does not originate out of some of your, let's say, immutable characteristics, right?
nobody
So
cares.
I
The
don't know what
businesses should be
particularly
able
what
to
the cases were
refuse
about.
based on anything. I would even go as
No,
far as,
you cannot do that. No, you cannot do that. You cannot ban black people from entering a store, right?
no, we used to have
There's a
that.
reason.
The only reason we don't have that is the Civil Rights Act, right? And so they're protected
Yes.
classes.
Yes, exactly.
This is not a protected class. That it's not the same thing at all.
No, you are not allowed to discriminate against people based on sex
You're
and
not
based on
discriminating. You're
sexual
just saying, I'm not
gender,
going to
right?
bake the gay cake. You can buy any other
That's
cake.
discrimination.
I'm just not gonna.
Okay.
I'm just not gonna bake the gay cake for you. Just like I wouldn't like
What
to
made the
bake
cake
a
gay?
swastika
I
cake
don't
for
know.
a
Yeah,
neo-Nazi, right?
I understand.
Yeah.
But I don't understand enough about this, or I don't know the details of the case. Like, what was the cake supposed to be like?
Gay wedding.
What made the cake gay?
Gay wedding. Like the worst
But what
possible
made
thing for a
the cake
conservative.
itself gay? But what made the cake itself gay?
I don't think the cake was gay. I think the guy just refused to write, to participate in a gay wedding by baking a cake. He didn't want to
He's
do that
not
because of his.
participating in the wedding. He's basically selling a cake. So again,
Okay.
what's the issue
Well, he
exactly?
didn't want to, and they wanted to force him to. They could have easily went to another shop. The free market would have taken care of this because if he was unwilling to do that, there would be a gay friendly shop next door who would bake the cake. So there's no real problem. They could have went anywhere and gotten the cake. They just wanted to make an example of this,
Okay, but what
particular
if he
person.
didn't want to do a black cake?
What would be a black cake?
I don't know.
Like a black
Maybe it
colored
had a
cake?
figurine of a black person on it, and he says I would only do white figurines,
Well, they wouldn't be
white
able
and
to
yellow
use this
figurines.
argument. They wouldn't be able to use this
What?
argument because it's not a religious liberty argument. They would have to use some other argument.
I
Yeah.
think it's not okay to discriminate against, again, people regardless of your religious belief. It's,
Okay.
again, your
So even
freedom ends where
Nazis, you would
somebody
bake a
else's
Nazi
begins.
cake, like for Nazi parade or whatever. You don't.
Uh,
You can't refuse that either.
you
Because
can refuse that, but in that case, you're not discriminating against the person itself,
you're not
right?
discriminating based on the
Rather,
fact that they're gay. You're discriminating based on the fact that they're baking a gay cake, forcing you to bake a gay cake, and your religion prohibits you from doing anything that would support, sinners, basically, right? You
well,
don't want to. You love them,
it doesn't
you wish them
really, but
well,
yeah,
but you don't want to help them
yeah,
break God's law by
okay.
getting married, right? So that's the argument.
But do you understand how many God's laws that same baker is already breaking? Do you?
Doing what?
There's plenty of rules in the Bible about what you should or should not do, and
Mhm.
there's actually very little about gay people or baking gay cakes, right? And
I don't think it has
Christians
anything
of
about making
today
gay cakes.
are breaking the rules all the fucking time, right?
Okay. Well, but that's up to him. I mean, he's gonna go to hell for that, right?
But um,
I mean, if
okay,
if it was a Jewish, I'm trying to find an example that would be the same because this is a very specific example, and the argument
yeah.
used is religious liberty argument on the baker's side, right? The other guys use the discrimination thing, but this was a totally.
Based on the Bible, you're not supposed to eat crayfish or something, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, Jews
Uh,
don't, right?
or shellfish,
Yeah.
right? So if I went and it's like ridiculous. If you let's say you work as a chef and you belong to a religion that bans eating of, let's say, shellfish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
somebody orders shellfish,
Mm-hmm.
you yourself cannot eat that. But there's nothing stopping you from
Yeah.
preparing it for somebody else. This is
Um,
none of your
so
business,
this
right?
is
And it
different.
is
You're not familiar with
what you
probably the
are.
Jewish religion a lot. The Jews would be fine doing this because
Mhm.
basically everybody's personally responsible in front of God. That's why Jews don't evangelize and don't try to convert people. So they would be okay with this in this particular case. I think. I think. Um, but in this case, he's a Christian, right? And Christians are actually required to, do their best to help other people not go to hell, right? So they want to basically help you to save your soul. And so he didn't want to do something actively that would support the same way that Shapiro told Dave Rubin that he wouldn't go to his wedding, right? Although they're presumably friends. He wouldn't go to his wedding because that's not something that you would do to encourage this kind of behavior that you have a problem with your religion. So yeah, I don't think it's the same thing. I don't think a black cake would qualify because there's no. Well, I guess Mormons did have rules against black people for a while, but I don't think. I think they couldn't have black priests, or I think they thought that black people are basically punished by God by being black. So maybe that there's that exception, but.
Again, if your religion contains all of these rules, and like
Mhm.
I said, there's plenty of other rules that people are not respecting on a daily
Well,
basis,
you're
and
a
then
little bit
you
confused there. Let me just stop you there. You're a little bit confused there because the New Testament has overridden the Old Testament. So you can selectively say, okay, this is old and this is new. This is what we should do. So they have this loophole. Christians have
basically
the
you're
loophole.
using your religion to excuse your bigotry. That's my position on this matter,
Sure. Yeah,
right?
you can say that, but I'm saying you should have the freedom to do so. I don't think
I
it
don't
was
think.
justified to force a business to do what they don't want to do. I don't think that's the right way to go. That's reducing liberty instead of increasing liberty. So that's how I feel about it.
I don't think we should again. This is why we have protected classes in the first place, right? It's
Yeah,
so
but
that
this
people
doesn't
cannot
qualify.
discriminate against other people.
Mhm.
Whoever it is that we place into a protected class, there is no justification that you can come up with that will be valid in order for you to discriminate against them. That's the whole point, right?
If you're
And
discriminating based on the sex or race or whatever, yeah, because if you say, okay, I'm discriminating because of this, then yeah, you're not able to do that because it's a protected
well, if
class.
you would bake a cake for a straight person, but you would refuse to bake a cake for a gay person, and let's
Mhm.
say the only difference between these two cakes is the names which are written on the cakes, you are basically discriminating against
No, if
a
you're
gay
gonna
person.
sell them any other cake, it's not discrimination based on that. It's not. It wouldn't. You would never sell one cake to a black person and not another one, right? So it's clearly not discrimination. It's just this particular gay wedding cake. The fact that they're gay wouldn't preclude them from buying any other cake from this person or ordering any other cake that would have anything else written on it. It's just that they're forcing him to basically support gay weddings by baking this cake, right? Implicitly. So that's the issue. You're making a great point for what I'm trying to say, which is it's not a first of all, it's not a protected class. And second, you're not actually discriminating against gay people. This guy would be happy to sell them all kinds of cakes, just not the he just doesn't want to create this custom gay wedding supported cake, and that should be his right.
Yeah, I can buy that. Like